Have tea or
in
coffee.
Australia. I have tea or coffee.
Good tea and coffee.
Just to get started. The purpose of today is really twofold. One is to talk about our, we did real research on wisdom and asked survey questions, but we also did an informal research, right? We ran 2 live classes, 90-day classes. We got a lot of feedback from people in the class and then after the class and then their own surveys independently. And then as we sent you out, let's gently call them a couple of emails that came from me, more than a couple of emails. As we sent these emails out, we sent a number of videos. And then we have some really interesting information about who clicked on what video and what people watched, and all of that. So the first part is, if you will, the live reveal here, live from Healdsburg, California, Sonoma County, reveal of the wisdom research. And we'll start with the survey itself. So we'll show you the survey questions and then the chart of the answers. And we were intrigued by a number of the answers. And surprised, and we had a good chuckle with some of them.
I think it's interesting for all of you to check in with where you see yourself relative to the survey too,
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
Yeah, check in.
Great. Speaking of check-in, how are we doing on sound and music and the video, Ragi and team? Are we good? Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sounds great.
Great. Excellent. Thank you very much. And welcome. I see a lot of familiar faces here on one screen and the other. So really, really happy to have you here. And I see Bosnians and Americans and people from all over. So really, really thrilled to have folks from different parts.
Yeah, and 2 of our teachers are zooming in as well.
2 of the teachers are zooming in. Dr. Ray Blanchard and Miss Betty Spruill are also in. So they're waving. Those of you who've taken the classes, you've had a chance to meet them. And we're lined up so nice here, like in first grade. It's like in first grade, and we're doing a parents' presentation, and we're all dressed up, and we're ready to go and to do this. In first grade, we did not have a glass of wine. I don't know what school you went to, but in my school, they didn't have wine.
We had it on
And I got my pink shirt on. I can't drink wine because I got another meeting later, but I'll drink my wine later.
That's fine. That's fine.
Water is always good.
That's great.
A survey.
Excellent. So first part is a survey. The second part, which is even more interesting, is what do we learn from this survey? And what do we learn in the specific direction, which is balance, right? How do we create more balance in our lives? I think even if we had balance in our lives, it will certainly, a lot of us have been knocked off balance with this series of events, starting with COVID and the George Floyd protests and January 6th in Ukraine. And when Martha was naming off these various things, it sounded like the locust chapter in the Bible. And it all happened in the last 2 years, right?
All the
floods,
climate change.
yeah, all the floods and serious stuff, right? That's all joking aside, fires and shootings, school shootings, and Ukraine and all of those things that have been happening. So even if we did have balance and did have skills, was somebody saying something? Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I thought we heard somebody. Even if we did have balance, it's been hard to maintain that balance, and now all of us need to rebalance. Even in our certainly with our families, and at home with our health, with our exercises, with our practices, and certainly hanging out with people. Right? I just started going to conferences, and like all of these different emotions of like, okay, I'm so excited to be with people, but you don't even know what to say anymore. Like we fell out of, like, what do you say to people that you haven't seen in a while? Because you've already said 6 things about COVID and flights and whatever, all of that. So that's really the main point is, one of our teachers, Patricia, reminded us, don't promise people balance. And I was quick to retort that we don't promise balance, we promise the pursuit of balance, right? So we can promise that we'll be engaged today and in our classes in the pursuit of balance. So those are the 2 main things. Is one, let's cover the survey results, maybe take 10 minutes or so, and please ask questions anytime. And we'll have a separate Q&A at the end to ask whatever you like. And then 2, talk about balance. And then one particular thing that we figured out is the best way a class, a course, a way to pursue balance together, right? In sharing and in community. Any questions or comments before we start? Anything that you'd like to highlight, or any questions from the audience? Draghi, if there are streaming questions that are coming in, please read them off to us.
Sure.
Anything there?
No, I think they're excited to hear what they responded to in this survey because it
That's
came
right.
from them. So
That's right.
I'm eager.
All right, let's see the survey. So let's pop open the first question. Melissa will ask you to share the screen without further ado and jump into the questions. There are only 4 questions, so this will be quick, but interesting. So we had 120, I don't see now, 121 responses. And the first question was basically the question is how often do you use wisdom in your life? And I was a little surprised here that so many people, this must have been the people from my family, they all answered always, right? It's my Bosnian friends and my family, like, wisdom, me, all the time. And then some more reasonable people answered, sometimes, or most of the times. And then the humble ones answered rarely. That's here. And you can stay here, you can see the percentages. And reminded me of a story from a Greek king in the time of philosophers in Greece, who created this like a golden pyramid award for the wisest person in all of Greece. And then as he went to present the award to all of the wisdom keepers and philosophers, nobody would take the award because one of the key wisdom skills is humility. And the last thing you wanted to do is accept the award for being the wisest person out
There's
there.
none of this.
So, but obviously we didn't have that problem in this survey because we had about 30% people saying using wisdom always. But all joking aside, you could interpret the question to say how often do we use wisdoms? And I think obviously we use wisdoms in our life. Like we didn't make it to where we are, just kind of bumping around, like and not paying attention to the world. The question is not do we use wisdoms. The question is, do we consciously? To me, the question is, do I consciously use wisdom skills like courage and reciprocity and abundance and the skills of caring and empathy? Do I use the skill of empathy? I know the concept of empathy really well, and I can talk for 4 hours about empathy. When I'm in the middle of some email for work and my son comes 3 times because he wants to play, and then I say, damn it, I told you 3 times, I'm sending this email, I'll play one. Okay, well, I just failed on my skill of empathy. I know the concept of empathy, but I don't have really the skill of empathy. And I know Marcella, my wife, is laughing as I say this, and I know she has multiple examples. That's why I put her on mute.
We'll talk about that one.
We got your back, Marcella.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do.
Now, that was
So
not
that's a good
wise,
question. I think it's
Elvira.
important. Not very wise. I'll pay for this one. That's right.
I want to say something before you move to the second question real quickly, though. Yes, we have people saying that they use wisdom a lot, but I do also want to say there's something about false humility. We're in a time with such amazing challenges, and right beside them are opportunities. So you also don't want to fall into false humility. So I'm not going to make any of those answers wrong, but I do know that we all could get better in drawing on them, because it's not all the time you use it, but at the same time, no false humility. We don't need a lot of this kind of that stuff.
I mean, but this is why we started up and why everybody's been putting in so much work. I mean, each of you have your practices, you have your things that you do in your life, and you've all dedicated a tremendous amount of time. And Ray and Betty and certainly the staff in Sarajevo, just an incredible amount of time and life energy to do this upend thing, which the point is to put these wisdom teachings out, to put into the, we have so much divisiveness and divisiveness for every potato, on TV and on social media, and we all gathered as, in a sense, almost like as an antidote to that, because we got the call and the calling to say, okay, how do we put out what we're working on, right? What we're doing, and how do we engage as many people as possible in the conversation of abundance and reciprocity and courage and boundaries and balance in our life. And balance is also a balance which news I watch, like that. So that's why we're here. I know I speak for each of you.
And also,
Okay.
wisdom is a learned skill. I mean, really, we can learn skills of balance and wisdom. So it's like a muscle we can develop.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say to groups that I work with, I say, how many of you really have experienced happiness and joy? And several people, of course, raise their hands, most everyone. And then I say, well, what if you never really even knew what happiness and joy really is? You know, what if it's something beyond what you think it is? And I feel the same with wisdom. The older I get, the more I realize how little I've known all these years, pretending that I knew something.
But it didn't stop you from teaching. That's right.
No, I kept talking. So, but I think that it was, I think that maybe if we're all in the question of what is wisdom and what is it really? And am I accessing as much wisdom as I possibly can? That's the thing that I'm so curious about.
Perfect lead in to the second question.
Yeah.
The second question is, please, Ray.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing too about wisdom is we teach those skills of wisdom, and people can learn that. That's a learnable phenomenon. But wisdom is actually witnessed by the people who give you feedback. You might think you're being wise, but do the people around you think that you're being wise? So I think one of the wisdom skills is to listen to feedback and listen to what other people's response to you is, rather than just having it in your own mind and being your own judge of your wisdom. Begin to listen to the feedback of other people is another skill that we can do, rather than saying to yourself, I'm wise.
Humility.
And that's about humility. Yeah, absolutely. Keep going with that. That's a good point. Yeah.
And don't not only what other people say, but look at the results in our lives. If it isn't exactly the way I want it to be, then how come?
Yeah.
I'm missing some ingredients.
Yeah, and the point of feedback is especially addressed to those of us who answered always on the first question.
So number two.
Number two question was, are wisdom skills teachable? And then we say, what is a wisdom skill? So it's like the marriage of the wisdom and the skill. And by wisdom, many of us, and I know I have been for a long time and continue to be, stuck in the concepts of wisdom, in the theory, in the rare practice, right? I do it, I give something to, gratitude. Yeah, I say I'm grateful, but how often do I do it? So the distinction between the wisdom and the skill is like, I always say, it's like Serena Williams. You wake her up at 4 a.m. and she'll beat your ass in tennis. No question asked, anybody in the world, right? Or Warren Buffett. By the time you brush your teeth and make your coffee, he's made $1 billion, right? So, because the guy has the skill, right? And the woman has the skill. And then do we have these skills, right, or practices, and how do we build them? And then the question here was, is it teachable? Because, and if you look at academic wisdom research, a lot of people think that wisdom is something that comes with age and life experience, which puts a question on whether it's teachable. So we wanted to ask this question, and we asked it, and I was thrilled to see that so many people said, at least the ones who were willing to engage in the survey, said that more than 90% of you said it's teachable. So that's helpful, right? At least there's that dose of humility to say it's teachable. Maybe not to me, because I always use wisdoms in my life, but it's teachable to other people, right?
Well, all you have to do is bring a willingness to learn. That's it. And then you can learn some incredible things about wisdom, I think.
And I also think that inherently we have a wisdom within us. And part of this whole piece about Upend is to bring that wisdom forward, to bring awareness to that, have it witnessed, and then, as you were mentioning, Charity, have that muscle of wisdom continue to grow and grow stronger and be able to live and make decisions from a wisdom place. And that's part of a wisdom community, which is also part of this as well.
And we're not teaching, I shouldn't say we, the traditional Western education right now is not teaching wisdom in schools. I've gone to every school possible, and with 4 kids, I've paid for every school possible. And I don't remember much talk about wisdom, courage, perseverance as a thing, as a class. It's mentioned, it's on a poster, right? It may be part of some homework and it's part of some, reading, but to really be talked about, to dive in, what does it mean to have courage in life? What does it mean to have balance in life? What does it mean to have reciprocity? What does it mean to have these various skills that we talk about? And that's one of the reasons when we got together, we said, okay, well, there isn't a school. We can't find a school, so let's make a school. And this group here is quite entrepreneurial. So I'm thrilled that we're putting the conversation out there in a sharing, learning way.
What you said, Jeremy, is great because education, can we learn? We're talking like, can you be educated? Educare does not mean put in, it means to draw out.
Right.
And so we are really drawing out the wisdom that's already there.
Right.
But we are not aware of a lot of it. We're not conscious of it. So when one takes time to have some self-reflection, then we can recognize, maybe what we never knew we knew.
Exactly.
Which
And
isn't
it's
it-
important to cultivate that patience with ourselves and in learning as we learn. So we'll have moments of wisdom, or we'll have moments where, oh, this is what we're talking about. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm learning. And then we're off. We're out.
Funny you should mention patience, because that's the second best answer to the third question. If we can scroll to the third question, Melissa, please. Thank you. So the third question is, rate your top wisdom skills that you'd like to have more in your life. And the top five are balance, patience, discipline, which was interesting, discipline, healthy boundaries, and forgiveness. And to me, it's interesting which ones showed up. The forgiveness showed up. I didn't think forgiveness would show up that high.
Interesting.
And balance by far, you can see down in the numbers, and this is, everybody answered this question. And there was, for those of you who took the survey, there's 25, you can see 25 here. So if you look at the middle of the list, you'll see gratitude, and you'll see well-being, health and well-being. You'll see a number of words, courage, and others that are in the middle of the list. But to me, just as interesting as the top ones, the way I almost looked at it, like the top ones are the things I'd like to have.
Right.
And the bottom ones, turns out, if you look at ancient wisdom and indigenous wisdom and traditional wisdoms and cultures and religions, and by the way, Upend is non-religious, not any particular culture. We just talk about these things together, right? In a secular, open, sharing kind of way. But if you look at the very bottom of the list, are some of the most important skills that are taught. And if you start from the very bottom, the thing that got the least points is reflection. And it's literally at the heart of many similar world religions and traditions. Now, it could be that some people interpreted the question about which wisdom skills could I use more of in my life. So they don't think they answered reflection as least because they're already using reflection.
Well, I would ask those of you who've joined us, when you speak, or if maybe put in the chat or in the, what does that mean for you? What does wisdom mean? What does balance? Anyway,
I think that's a great question, yeah.
I would like to offer something to that. We have 4 seasons.
Please.
We have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And depending on the seasons we're in, is what we call on. And so right now, if we look at the world and why people are calling for wisdom, for meaning, because we could say that we're in a winter season. And I don't mean just the climate, but with disruptions, with uncertainty, with meaning. And so when that's happening, people aren't looking so much for, I think, some of the bottom ones, but they're looking more for, how do I even survive? How do I take care of myself and my family? And so they're different, some of these distinctions show up in different ways at different times. And what has had humanity be here for so long is the wisdom to know when it's winter and the wisdom to know when it's spring. And in doing that, we've been here for a lot of years, us human beings. So that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, and another thing, I know we want to move on because we don't have a lot of time, but the interesting thing that stood out for me about this chart that the results that we got, balance and patience and all the ones in discipline are the ones at the top. I think those are the things that people want. But if you look at the ones at the bottom, like reflection, honesty, guidance, those are the ways to get to the ones at the top.
Yeah.
So what people want is at the top, but the ones at the bottom are like the pathways to get to the ones at the top. So I think that's a very interesting reflection how this shows up in this survey here.
I think what we're talking about right now is exactly what happens in the class that makes me so excited in the community, is because when you're here, it's not about the bottom of it's both. And that we're able to hold on it as human beings onto all of this. And so nobody's right or wrong or good or bad, but rather, it's that we're curious, as you said, willing to learn and grow and discover just how much wisdom we do have, and then share that with each other.
Yeah, right. And the point of our class is at UpEnd, part of the reason our class, the main class, the opening class, is 90 days. And while we have the teachers, so many different teachers, because we want different perspectives, and we do the same thing in class. We do like this, we fight with each other and argue and go on mute and have fun. And obviously people are, talking right here. We have many guests, so please feel free to jump in and ask questions. Does anybody want to ask any questions or comments?
Or have a comment? Yeah.
I'd be interested in knowing why people want wisdom.
Yeah.
Why do you want wisdom? What's it going to create for you? What will be different in your life if you really accessed a major portion of the wisdom that you have?
And feel free to put it in the chat.
Yeah,
Again, where it's not about cornering you, we just want to be of service.
Okay.
It's popping up in the chat.
Okay. Why?
Yeah.
While we're doing screen share, can we see the chat while we're doing screen share?
Let's stop the screen share. Yeah, you can see the chat on your screen. It's open.
Okay.
Great. So balance means to me ease between different hats of my life. I can take on and put on my hat of responsibility with ease. So thank
Good.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
And was there
There's a-
another?
there's a couple of
last
one.
There's the last question. Yeah, we can cover that. So Melissa, could you share the screen again? The last question asked about which part of your life would you like to use wisdom in? And we put in kind of the top 5 or 6, and the top 5 or 6. Melissa, if you can share the screen again with the last question, that'd be great. And it was success, career, relationships, life transition, and well-being, health and well-being. And it's interesting how it came in, and we asked people to rate the different skills, different areas of life that they wanted. So we gave kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the first one was, no, I got this area of my life handled. I don't need wisdom in this area of my life, in health or in success and whatever. And the next one is, I'd like to hear more about this part, how can wisdom help with this part of my life? The next level is, I'd like to learn a little more than that. And the last was, I want to master this. So the results came in kind of interesting and scrambled. So Melissa, can you scroll all the way down, please, to that, to the table of the 4th question?
Yes, just a second.
There you go. No worries, thank you. I'll put my seeing eyeglasses here. Great. So if you sort by if you look at the weighted average, that's on the side, on the last thing. So you can see here the areas that came on top. So what people care most about is health and well-being, and then relationships, and then success, and then career and work, and then life transitions, and then enjoyment of life. Can you please do the weighted average? No, the weighted average first, the last one.
Yes, of course. Descending.
Last column, weighted average descending. Thank you. So if you look at it by this measure, kind of by overall answers, what people are looking for is enjoyment in life, which is really nice,
It's
Great.
right? And the next one is health and well-being. And then the next one is relationships, and then the next is success, and then career. Seems like people don't care about career so much, and then life transitions, which I was surprised about life transitions because I thought people would be more interested in life transitions because of all the things we see with COVID.
So does that mean that people are not enjoying life as much as they want to?
That's what this data
That's what-
suggests.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the people who are on our call today, if where you fit with some of these. I'd like to hear from some of you if we can.
And you could just put it in the chat
Yeah,
too,
put
if
it
you
in
just
the
want to
chat
say.
if you-
Or if you
for
wanna
me,
speak,
Yeah, either one.
Because, you know, here's the thing, I think when we're operating with wisdom, we put ourselves in a position to design and direct our lives the way we want it. Or without that wisdom, life directs us.
Yeah,
You see, we're not in the driver's seat. Life is in the driver's seat. And all the circumstances are in the, and other people, our kids are in the driver's seat. Our spouse, our boss, our job are all telling us how our life will be. When with wisdom, you're in the driver's seat. You direct your life. And I think that's a big difference.
And I
Well,
love
so we
that.
have, can I read from the chat?
Yes, go ahead, go
If I
ahead.
may?
I wanna hear.
So we had one, wisdom is equal to focus on important things that matter now and forever. Conversely, it's not the busy hamster wheel of to-dos. Yeah,
Yes,
that's nice.
good, nice one. That's nice.
Another one is, as we're becoming wiser, we're opening new neuro and energy pathways. Can we say a little bit more about this? How and why does this happen? That as we become wiser, that we become more open,
Yeah.
right, to new things. So we'll cover that. And then one of the questions is, what is success? Or better yet, how does Upend define success? How does it relate to wisdom? And then another one is, wisdom, or when I'm wise, means to me I'm operating in life toward my purpose.
Yeah.
So
So I was
take
just
these in
thinking
some
about
turn,
one
please.
with success in an indigenous perspective is to be a whole human being is to live in harmony and balance with yourself. So what you were talking about internally, but it also is the wisdom to live in harmony and balance with all of our relations. And that means with each other human beings, but also with the earth, everything. Everything is alive. Everything is part of this hoop of life. And so it's just really exciting when you can really spend the time, not be in that, crazy business all the time, to be able to reflect, to talk to other people, to really discover what's going on, what you already have, and also the extension, the collective wisdom we have. That I have really fun at our class to hear that.
And look, it's not all fun and games. I mean, we have a lot of fun and games in the class, but people are dealing with real issues. I'll tell you, one of the reasons we created the whole email chain about de-stressing skills. That's another piece of the survey. That's not in this survey, but it's in we had 39,000 views of the videos that we put out, 39,000 impressions. So not everybody watched the videos. We had obviously fewer views. And many of you asked for the videos, and then when we gave you the damn videos, then you watched a third of it. So you should really come to class, because the class is fun and entertaining and exciting. But the other thing is we also talk about serious things in class, right? And people, whoever's comfortable, right, they share. It doesn't have to be very personal, or it could be de-identified, right? A friend says, or people are dealing with this. But for example, there's a lot of stress in people's lives. I've had a number of friends, close friends or business people, they're like, don't talk about lovey-dovey stuff, right? We talk about, sports and, business and work and all of this, and maybe we complain about the kids, occasionally about the spouse. But I've had a number of them come out in recent weeks and say, this is really getting me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like my skills, somebody really close to me said this, my skills that I used to have, like I had my thing, like I would just go exercise. And all I needed to do is just get back on my exercise cycle. And within 5 days, I'm good again. And now I went through my exercise cycle and nothing happened, right? The degree of stress that's out there is real. And these people are apprehensive about all the changes that are happening. So on the one hand, while we have fun and laugh and talk about this, we also address the other side in the classes. And the most important thing to me is the community. It's really what you talk about, the hoop of life. We share and talk and have exactly, you're a little more free to speak in class it seems like then you're here, but we have people jumping in and saying, hey, I'm dealing with this, or when I dealt with this, this is what really helped me. Like
And
that.
we
So
can
it's-
learn from each other that way.
That's it.
You know, I mean, that's the thing. We're all teachers and we're all students.
yeah.
And I think a really important hallmark in all the things that we're saying is there is an ease to when we're in a wisdom state, an ease when we're in balance, an ease when we're in stressful situations, when we can become present. And that's when we know how we move through. That's our feedback.
So you can stop with the screen share now, and let's open it up for questions or comments. Nice to see so many faces and so many names, and friends and new people. Please feel free to ask a question. Any of you, I know I talked to some of you offline, and you had a number of questions, but if there's anything you'd like us to specifically address with respect to balance in our lives, or with anything with respect to upend or anything like that, please chime in.
You
You might be
know,
on mute.
Michelle said something in the chat that I would like her to speak a little bit about, if she's willing to. She spoke about balance. To me means ease between the different hats of my life. So, and I think that's probably something that most people are dealing with, is how they have to either multitask and create lots of stress, and how do they navigate between all of those different hats of their life. So Michelle, would you mind speaking about that a little bit?
Sure. One of the things I think that really came out of the last Upend course for myself, and a practice that I've been doing in my own life, is we all have different hats in our life, whether it's family, work, ourself, friends and whatnot, maybe a spiritual pursuit. We each have different commitments that can be organized by a hat. And if you think about every time I'm asked to do something, I look and see well, what was the commitment I have in that particular hat? And if the answer is yes, then I do it. If it doesn't further my commitment in that area of my life, I say no. And so for me, that's the heart of wisdom. That's the heart of being wise, because you're checking in with a higher guidance. We're all going to define that differently in life. But if I look at what I've learned at Upend and through my life and through the teachings that we're talking about, that to me is what balance means. And then that's ultimately what creates happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment, because you're actually filling your days with something that moves forward a commitment that you have in your life. That's why I wrote that.
Oh, I like that. I like what you're saying about that. Does that kind of mean being present to what serves you and serves your higher purpose, and what gives you health and well-being? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yes, and it can be frivolous too. Yeah, I remember a conversation with my husband, and he said, I just really want to go mountain biking more. And so, to other people that may seem frivolous, because it's just mountain biking. But for him, he started to take steps toward that and started to schedule it more on times that would be, other people would be like, oh my gosh, you need to be working at that time, And I encouraged him to knock off at 3 p.m. in the afternoon if the weather was beautiful and that's what called to him. And I think that's really, I think to the teacher's credit, I think that Jeremy really talked about the humor and lightheartedness. And to me, play is an essential part of your commitments as well. It's not just working hard, pulling yourself up by your bootstrap and working hard. Balance is really what lights your heart up, and having play in your life. And that's something that we learned here at Upend as well.
Yeah, and knowing
If I may add,
and being present to what serves you in that way, and knowing that about yourself, rather than living your life according to what somebody else wants for you or wants for you to do it, and knowing how to distinguish that.
Well said.
That's where people talked about healthy boundaries. But what I found about balance is it's subtle. And I fall into like almost like a little tunnel with daily activities, the daily have-tos, and there's no room to even look. If I'm just reminded, all I need to do is like refresh my wisdom in some sense. It's just find the time. The other thing that really helps is accountability. And that's one of the reasons that Upend, besides these beautiful and wonderful teachers that are here, is in the class we have 6 sessions of coaching. And in the last 2 classes that we did, that was rated as the number one value of the class, because these are professional coaches. Miss Betty Sproul, they come from her work, and they're trained in these kinds of things. And what they help people is, one, create the top 5 wisdom skills I want to work with, kind of the plan in that first session, and then for these 90 days to really work on it, to have some accountability, to take an accounting of where am I spending time, and then to balance and to practice slowly these new muscles and new skills that we first get to practice in class, and then we get to practice it outside, and then we put it into our real life. So I think that piece is why we created, what's a distinguishing feature, why we started Upend and created the opening class, is to get away from the discussion. It's like, what is it, you listen to Dalai Lama on whatever, some podcast, and then, on your way to pick up the kid, you're honking at everybody, you kick the dog on the way out the door, whatever. And it's,
Don't let us.
but this idea about how do I put all this fanciful talk, how do I put it into a practice?
Right.
And that's one of the reasons we have the indigenous wisdom perspective, because it's all about the practices, right? And what I learned from Betty 25 years ago, it's all talk until it's practices. What am I actually doing in my actual daily life? And that's where the balance comes in.
Yeah. Also connection. I feel that COVID has been the great disconnector globally, and we have forgotten or fearful of connecting. We don't know how to connect with each other. Those relational capacities have been diminished because of the separation, the fear of connecting. You wear a mask, you see another person with a mask, you're wondering, you got to be 6 feet away. Yeah, exactly. All of that. So with Upend, we then reskill the elements of connection, but not just connection from a chit-chat place, from a small talk place, but from a depth of connecting with self and also connecting with others. You mentioned the Great Hoop. This fits in line with that Great Hoop of connection. And the skill sets that we teach here or we share are all part of that ability to reconnect with each other, but reconnect with depth, without fear, without judgment, with power.
Well, and that deep remembrance that we're all one.
Yeah.
We're one with ourselves, we're one with one another, we're one with the environment.
But the very practical thing I love about our classes is the embodiment concept. So that's the first thing that goes, is the dissociation, disconnection with our bodies. That's the first thing that goes in stress, in trauma, in hard events, and just learning. And Charity has been bringing that in and reminding all of us, less talk, more embodiment, right? More going in, not just to, well, maybe you speak about it more.
Well, if keying off what Jeremy said about connection with others, embodiment's all about connection to begin with ourselves in a deep, non-judgmental, self-loving, kind, present now way. So that's the beginning. I mean, I think actually that has to be the beginning of wisdom, is that remembering, reconnection to our own being. And from that place, we can connect with others. But talk about a skill, like a learnable, but a practice that takes time, actually, because we have been so disconnected from ourselves. So
and finding resources. I always took embodiment to.
One of the other great connectors with your body, as you spoke about, Charity, is also connecting with earth, connecting with nature, connecting with our connection. Our feet are the closest things to the ground, and our connections with the earth allows us to be more centered, more balanced, and connecting with nature is also part of the balance that I think people are looking for, because we've many people have kind of gotten away from being in nature, doing things with their hands, or even working in the garden or dirt, or just paying attention to the environment that nurtures us. And I think that's a part of our overall health, is that balance and that connection with, because we are that too.
This is what I
Good
love,
point.
when Patricia and Anita bring that whole indigenous history and your connections just have been so edifying for me, and been opened my mind to my ancestors. I never really thought about my ancestors. I don't know a lot about, but really connecting me with a profound past is what you've shared has been really very valuable. Yeah.
And in some sense, what I love about that perspective, so you can have, if you will, like a spiritual view of connecting with your ancestors, right? Where are my ancestors from? But you can forget spirit altogether and just go to biology, because your ancestors' DNA is literally in us, right? And every single thing is written down, right? That's how all the things got passed down in this incredibly complex code. So there's something to be said about literally just peering into our DNA, even if you're just completely non-spiritual, non-religious, non-anything, and just stay strictly on the science side. I know when I put on my engineering hat, there's still an incredible wealth of information that's just sitting in the body. And the resources that you talk about all the time, the body is not just source of information. I always thought it's like, let me go in and see what's wrong. And what I like is, let me go in and see what's there. That was first, and then second is, let me go in and see if something there can be helpful, right? It's like a proactive thing, and I never thought I lugged with me these really awesome resources inside of finding calm, of going back to my values, of my own empathy, right? First to myself and then to others, and that I didn't need some lecture and lesson and some kind of outside reminder. I didn't need my iPhone to remind me. What do you always say? You can't Google wisdom.
Can't Google wisdom.
Can't Google wisdom. I don't need my iPhone to remind me. I'm carrying it with me, in me, all of these skills and
Roger that.
in touch.
And that's our
Who's that? I'm
goal.
sorry.
What was that, right?
I don't know if it was Ray or Patricia.
It was Ray. I was trying.
Somebody said Roger that, but we
I think
missed
it was.
Let's hear from the folks out there if we
Please.
can.
There was a question about neuroscience, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was something about neuroscience, which is.
Who's gonna I was gonna share, I mean, everything that you're saying is so valuable, and I was thinking back to my experience with early COVID months and this idea of all this time and space to reflect. And in my experience, and what I feel like I'm observing in my environment, is the lack of a through line. Like suddenly, all these external activities and successes and things we were engaged with, we weren't anymore. And if I was putting so much of my meaning in the thing I did, or the conversation I had, or whatever it was, versus it doesn't really matter what we're doing in our daily lives. The through line for me is the thing that I feel like has been brought forward by this quiet, sort of distant, anxiety producing time that we've been experiencing these last couple of years. And I feel like the conversation that Upend is having is about each of us starting to find like what that through line is. And maybe you talk about it as purpose or vision, but I feel I don't know, I'm feeling in my body right now that it's something a little different. That's like the thing that I hold on to, the thing that defines me on some level, that guides me, and again, we could use that word wisdom, that I have no matter what. Like no matter what is going on, that grounds me, that I get like, I don't even want to say who I am, that it doesn't define who I am, but it is the thing that it's my touchstone. I think that's for me what I felt so clear was missing when COVID started, that if I ever had it, which I think I realized I don't know that if I ever had it. And now in these last few years, this is the thing that I want to reach. And I feel like the more I talk to people, it resonates with people that this is what they're looking for. so that we can, move through whatever circumstances we're moving through in our lives, including pandemics or, the dog ran away or whatever it is, with this kind of certainty, groundedness. That's what's coming
What
up
do
for
you think,
me.
Patricia? I was just going to ask Patricia a thing that you say. What is it that you trust? How do you say it? What is it that you can trust inside yourself, like beyond reproach, or what's the?
Right. Where in your body do you have unshakable trust?
Yeah.
Where do you have unshakable trust?
I love that.
And or what in your life do you have unshakable trust in? But particularly in your body. And for me, it's like I know that every time I can be present and be in beauty and know that I have a precious moment of life right now, that's where I find home, because I don't know what's next. And that space gives me the start point and the through line, as you're sharing, Michelle, for what comes next, because I can handle it, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Martha, you were going to say something.
No, I think in a similar fashion, an inner sage.
Inner
That's
sage.
what I call it, is my inner sage. When I can tap into that, that's a place I trust what decisions I make and the actions that I take.
Yeah. And I learned in certainly the Western education, it's all in the mind.
Right.
So I've been taught to trust my mind, to go through a logical reason process in engineering, in medicine, in law, and all of these different things. Reason process through the mind, and it's been wrong, right? It's been wrong.
Yeah.
Me only once in my life, but that's fine. For most other people, it was more. But
You're so lucky.
But you're a quick learner.
but it's been wrong in major ways. And what I've learned is to just go trust the heart. Just trust, like what's my heart saying, and even deeper down, what's my gut saying. And you know what? If I know the gut feeling is don't do that project, don't talk to that client, or do that project, even if it looks, the mind is saying no, this is terrible, but the gut is saying do it. The more I learn to really trust the gut and to tell the difference between the noise and the real gut feeling, the better things work out. And that's where you talk about inner sage. That is exactly that gut. I think that's somebody's calling to make sure that we bring it close.
It's my sage.
Yeah, it's about time.
It's your sage calling.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You were wondering what your wisdom is. It's calling.
So maybe you can say a few more things, because I'm really grateful for all these folks showing up, and I would love for them to know more about how they can keep meeting with us.
Yeah, look, it's different ways to participate, but the wisest, smartest thing we came up with, we don't know any better. We put 2-3 years now into designing the opening class, and we did 2 already. We did one with friends and family. Then we did one where we raised money for Ukraine, and we raised $10,000. So we got a paid class, right? People paid, and that worked out well. We sent 100% of their money out. And now we have one September 29th that starts September 29th, and it's simple format. It's 3 days, short Zoom meetings, like short. We're not full days, right? It's 3.5 hours. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3.5 hours, and then a month break, and then another weekend, and then a month break, and then another Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like that. And in between those is 3 sessions of coaching. So you have 3 between the first and second month, and then another 3 between second and third month, where you really put in practice everything that we're talking about. And we make a promise, and we did in the last 2 classes, we made, kind of the 5 promises of Upend. And the first one is you'll find and discover what your top 5 wisdom skills are, right? From that long list, which are the 5 that you need in your life right now? And then you'll work on those. And then the next promise is, you'll discover new sources of guidance in your life, right? Whether it's spiritual or strictly sticking to body, biology, and physics. What are the new sources of guidance that you may not even be aware of right now? And then, and we have a dog walking through, it's perfect. The third one is to get crystal clear on purpose, vision, guidance, kind of the clarity that's there. The fourth one is you'll build a community of support, right? With your coaches, with teachers. It's very lively, and then most importantly with your peers. I know people who've taken previous classes are still hanging out with the peers they met in class. And the fifth one, and most important one, is to have a lot of fun and laughter, and enjoyment and connection and real community, which I never thought you could do that on Zoom. Frankly, that kind of community emerged after the very first weekend. Community emerged and positivity emerged. And I know we sent you the videos, and it's hard to watch the videos, but I know people came to class. And we had, 98%, 97% completion, right? People who showed up on day one showed up on the last day of the last class because they really wanted to be there. And they wanted to engage and wanted to, because it's fun. This is the kind of things we all want to talk about, except now we're just doing a little happy hour. But in class, we're not rushed, right? We have time, right? We have time in class, we have time outside of class, and it's easy going, right? If there's something you don't want to do or can't do or whatever, then just don't do it. And, so it's not like there's no pressure to do anything. We're here talking and discussing and having fun with each other. So that's the invite to you in terms of balance. If you're ready to take yourself on, do sign up for this class. You have some emails from us. If you don't, it's just info@upend.com, or go to the Upend website, and it's the opening class. Starts September 29th. And I should say that for the people that we've invited now, friends and family, we're offering the class for $9.95. Our normal price is $2,000. So up until this Sunday at 11:59 on the dot, 11:59 p.m. Sunday at midnight, we flip back to more regular pricing. So please do go on the website, email us, call us, and we'll extend that discount. And if you know a graduate, somebody who's already been through the class, they have like a $150 coupon also. So they're happy to share with people. So lots of ways to participate, but thank you for today. We're over time, but we're happy to see. This is what happens when you have a live class. Right? That's the difference between a video and a live class. When you have to sit and watch, even if it's Martha's videos or your videos, and they're fantastic and they're powerful and they're this, it's just hard to sit there for 30 minutes and stare at the pre-recording. And it's a whole different thing when we're live and talking and laughing and even more interaction than we have today. But we're happy to stay as long as you like. It's Friday afternoon, but please ask questions if you have other questions or comments.
About anything.
About anything.
Anything at all.
And you're also fine to go, because we know there's other things calling. But we hope to see you at the end of the month.
Yeah, Roberto, you said, please, would you like to share? Please do.
Yes, it is a privilege to share. What I want to say first is thank you for putting this together. And also that we are here to explore balance and wisdom, and this is it. So whoever is new to this, you have it in your face, in front of you. These great teachers, what I learned from them is like that universe that is always expanding. So I was just yesterday teaching my class in a course in miracles, and I use one of the mechanisms I learned in this class. What I appreciate the most about you, or you can word it in any way you want, but it is a method that I learned here. And then I'm spreading the love out there. And also for Miss Betty, you may see the Russian dolls all over my social media. Is reaching corner. Here, look, Betty. Ta-da. So
yeah, open it up.
Russian dolls.
Yeah, this is also is at the heart of wisdom. They got so many dolls in it, and this is when I got in Russia years ago. And Roberto, I was doing a class with Roberto.
Dolls all the way down.
Yeah, all the way down to the very, very little core.
Well, let's do it together because that's wisdom together. Betty says you want to go fast in life, go alone. You want to go far, go together. So this is you. Imagine being you. I learned this from Betty. So we were talking what's the core of the beingness. So you need to untop it, but we need each other to go ahead and say, well, I cannot do it alone, but I have my peer to untap my potential. So you keep going all the way to your core, deepest self. So you would end up discovering through the process, who are you? As a matter of fact, I have it in my background. I don't know if you can see, who are you? And I have
go faster.
Okay, so this is it.
Is it?
That it, who are
There's
you?
your core of
It
goodness.
really, that's my testimonial. Like that's what I explore in this class. Yesterday, also I was in another class and we were talking about I know my body, and another person got upset and she's like, "We're beyond the body." And I remember Anita saying, "Where's the hoop? Everything is in there." So I said, even if the body is an illusion, we're still in the illusion is the hoop. But I can only expand this knowledge because I gain it here. That's my testimonial. You learn. I can say one thing about each teacher. My greatness beyond words. You have to experience it yourself. If you're not taking this course before. That's my testimonial.
And
That's very
congratulations.
kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you for finding time and thank you for saying this.
Cheers, cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Yeah. This is really grape juice.
Before we go, it's happy birthday to Betty. It's her birthday.
Betty's
Oh,
birthday. All right, let's do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I will sing happy
Two,
birthday.
three.
Happy birthday, Betty.
Happy birthday, Betty.
Thank you.
Yes.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Betty. Happy birthday to you.
Now you know I love the Stevie. I love the Stevie Wonder version. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Thank you.
Exactly. Gotta wiggle the bottom too.
We're better at wisdom than singing, but we're working on it.
Exactly. Well, joy to everyone.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye. See you again soon, we hope.
See you soon. Thank you and much love. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, come back up here. Coming up.
Oh, it's just
It was a half an hour plus Q&A. Yeah, so that's wonderful.
How many people are here? I'd like to see them cheer this on.
It's fun. Good.
Are we still on?